The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Jim Rutherford, you beautiful bastard. If you're right about this, you might have just saved the Vancouver Canucks franchise.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this bonus edition of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. And I'm back from the long commute from White Rock down to beautiful downtown Vancouver after the Canucks season officially kicked off. Kyle Bowen covered a good chunk of that earlier on here on Locked On Canucks. But one thing he didn't touch on much was Adam Foote, who did a good chunk of the talking today. Of course, our boy Jimmy Rutherford gets all of the attention, but Adam Foote on display. Talk about how he wants the Canucks to play this season. But my main takeaway from that was, of course, the man himself, Jim Rutherford, who mentioned that Adam Foote reminds him of Rod Brind'Amour. What? Rod Brind'Amour? Rod Brind'Amour, of course, has been one of the most successful coaches in the NHL ever since he was hired by the Carolina Hurricanes as head coach back in 2018-19. Jim Rutherford, of course, hired him to the team. Before that, he was still a member of the organization. So the question I want to ask to kick off this bonus episode, can Adam Foote actually be the next Rod Brind'Amour? And it's an interesting question because I think, at least for myself, a lot of skepticism about Adam Foote. Is this guy really prepared to be an NHL head coach? Is he really prepared for the pressure that's going to come with being the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, considering that the Vancouver Canucks best player might be leaving in a couple of years? And Rutherford and Alvin talked about that today, basically how, Quinn Hughes, he's got a stranglehold over the franchise, right? We all knew that, but they're showing some hesitancy to, make those big home run moves, pay a hefty price just to see Quinn Hughes walk out the door in a couple seasons. So they're hedging their bets right now. And perhaps they were hedging their bets when they originally hired Adam Foote in the first place. Again, I would say a bit of a surprising hire. We got the message from management at the time that, Adam Foote knows this team better than anybody else. And for a team that really needs to win now, the messaging was that was the right hire at the time. And with Adam Foote, it waits to be seen. But the Rod Brind'Amour comparison to me is fascinating because Rod Brind'Amour came to that Carolina Hurricanes team, a team that really had not had much success at all since going to the Cup Finals in 2006. So about a decade plus stretch of futility in Carolina, empty seats in the stands. All of a sudden, they bring in Rod Brind'Amour as head coach, and they have made the playoffs in each and every season that Rod Brind'Amour has been head coach of that hockey team. They go to the conference finals in his first year of head coach. They've won at least the first round series in all but one season that Rod Brind'Amour has been in charge of that hockey team. Can Adam Foote actually have that same impact here in Vancouver? Now, Adam Foote doesn't strike you as a guy that has quite the same intensity that Rod Brind'Amour does. Rod Brind'Amour is a very intense guy when he speaks publicly. And it doesn't sound like the Canucks are really going to play a similar style either. But again, we're talking about two rookie head coaches, did not have really pro head coaching experience before taking over the job. And here Jim Rutherford is saying that Adam Foote has the potential to be the next Rod Brind'Amour. And if Jim Rutherford is right on this one call in particular, he might have just saved the Vancouver Canucks franchise because the Canucks need to win now. Right? And I think Rutherford hinted about Hughes' future today, certainly talking about how it sounds like he wants to go play with his brothers. He doesn't know when that is, but things can change month to month. And the Vancouver Canucks, Quinn Hughes alluded to this as well, they need a hot start next season in order to get off on the right foot. Now, in terms of the playing style itself, again, Adam Foote did his best today to differentiate himself from Rick Tocchet, which I think was an important thing to do. Because the idea right now is that Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote, they're kind of cut from the same cloth. They're going to have this team playing a similar style. This is, of course, the defense and the structure that Adam Foote has had a part in putting in place over the last couple of seasons. But Adam Foote today mentioned how he wants the Canucks to be adaptive, depending on if they're playing heavy teams or teams with speed. They want to adapt their style to play against those teams. And I think it was refreshing to hear Adam Foote say that, but there are some pros and cons with that statement as well. Can a team really be adapted to their opponent on each and every night? I think one of the pros is the fact that it makes it harder to game plan against the Vancouver Canucks if Adam Foote can truly get this team to be adaptive, being aggressive on certain nights if there's maybe holes in the other team's defense, or the team is, maybe lacking some speed, and maybe tightening things up against teams who are very aggressive themselves. So maybe it makes it harder to game plan and play against the Vancouver Canucks. But one of my main questions is, does that make things more confusing for the team? Right? Bruce Boudreau took over, and it's a bit apples to oranges, but there was no structure. So I don't quite see it being like that. But can the Canucks adapt and change their style if, they have to learn different systems based on the opponent they're playing? And I think that's a fair question for Adam Foote. He's got a very tough job here in charge of the Vancouver Canucks. But I do think one of the things that plays into this style is that the Canucks are a relatively deep team. Do I dare say it? And of course, there's huge question marks at center. And this team, they weren't out here today pumping Filipito's tires at the opening season press conference. That shouldn't be a surprise. Patrick Allvin went on the record in the summer saying that, Filipito would be a great third line center. All right then, Patrick. So ignore all our Filipito hype episodes that we've had here on Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. But you look at the wingers on this team, and there's credible top 9 wingers up and down the lineup. Like, even when you look at other teams, I'm thinking of the Colorado Avalanche, right now the Vegas Golden Knights, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They don't necessarily have that. But the Vancouver Canucks do have, credible wingers on their top 3 lines who can play up and down the lineup. Like, that is a bonus. And of course, they got this defense, which might be the best defense that we've had since the 2011 glory days. And then, of course, as Kyle went on about earlier on today on Locked On Canucks, we might have the best goaltending tandem in the NHL, which is something Patrick Allvin didn't shy away from, saying that not only do we have the best tandem, but we have the best pipeline as well. Even though the Canucks traded away Archer Shilovs not that long ago, who was certainly an up-and-coming prospect for the Vancouver Canucks. But can Adam Foote actually get this team to adapt and play different styles on different nights? I guess the short answer is I think he has the pieces to do it, but I'm worried if he's actually going to be able to pull it off. Having some experienced head coach or assistant coaches behind the bench, like a Kevin Dean, that'll certainly help. Guys like Scott Young, who were, very creative offensive players in their time. He's got the staff in place to make this work, but, it's a big ask to ask your team to play different styles on a night-to-night basis. But man, oh man, just shout out to Jim Rutherford for 1 second here, because this guy's got me believing a little bit more in Adam Foote now. And I was trying to be optimistic in the offseason, but just because of the stakes here, to have a rookie head coach, maybe isn't as polished and articulate as a guy like Manny Malhotra is, for instance, a guy waiting in the wings for your Vancouver Canucks. Like, is he really going to be able to pull this team together, get them to play different styles on different nights and be successful? It seems like they're asking a lot. He might have to hone it in at some point, and it might be a bit of a learning experience for Adam Foote himself through the first 20 games for your Vancouver Canucks, which can be a scary thought because this team really does need to get off on a hot start if they want to avoid some of the negativity that's surrounded this team for the past 12 months now. But man, oh man, Rod Brind'Amour came into a shitty situation with the Carolina Hurricanes, and he absolutely crushed it out of the park. And a little bit different than the Canucks, but not that dissimilar. The Carolina Hurricanes at the time had pieces in place, the Jakob Slavins, Sebastian Ahos. They had core pieces in place, but they were able to get over the hump because of their head coach. And Adam Foote, man, oh man, you've now been compared to Rod Brind'Amour. It's up to you now to live up to it here as head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. All right, you're listening to Locked On Canucks. Bonus episode here. Kyle Bowen had you covered earlier in the day. We're going to stop here for a quick ad break. On the other side, I want to get into some training camp battles. And I want to hold myself accountable too, man. Because, if you listened earlier today, maybe it wasn't my finest performance first day on the job. Let's end on a fine note here on Locked On Canucks. Before we get back to the program, let's shout out our friends over at it's Monarch Money, baby. Most people can't name all their financial accounts. Can you name your financial accounts? Savings account, TFSA, RSP, RESP, whatever it is. You don't even have to know anymore because that's why you got Monarch Money, baby. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings together your entire financial life in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is there for you. And they do the heavy lifting for you, okay? Just like Elias Pettersson doing those squats in the offseason. Or maybe like Filipino doing the one-legged squats. My God! I get to see those tree trunks tomorrow at training camp. Let's go, Filipino. And Monarch Money, they will link all your accounts in minutes. So you can see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the crack. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Oh, man, my balls are tingling now. Hockey season is coming back. And if you want to get in on the betting action, FanDuel is the place to go. The NFL season is in full swing. My beloved CFL, they're in the stretch drive. Oh, MLS, man, those Vancouver Whitecaps tearing it up. And then, yes, of course, your Vancouver Canucks. Their first preseason game taking place this Sunday. So sports, they're back in full swing. This, to me, really is the most wonderful time of the year. And if you're in a betting mood right now, new customers on FanDuel can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. All right, so are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Do it tomorrow, or you can do it today. All right, we're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day and sometimes twice a day, baby. There you go. Putting in the work here on Locked On Canucks. Shout out to Kyle Bowen. Let's go, baby. Kyle Bowen, always here for the people. I try to be here for the people. I really do. And I'm here right now. Again, back from Rogers Arena and the opening day of the season. Again, never a dull moment with Jim Rutherford around. And again, Kyle had you covered for most of what happened in the press conference earlier on in the day, but I did want to touch on the Foote and Brind'Amour comparison because, man, oh man, speaking of my balls tingling, man, maybe I do have a problem because my balls are often tingling. But the idea that Adam Foote could be the next Rod Brind'Amour, I'd never really looked at it that way. And Adam Foote, man, the pressure's on, the stakes are high, but this guy has played in some pressure-packed situations before with the Avalanche. With the Canucks in the playoffs as head coach, and of course with Canada's Olympic team, this should be a guy that's ready for the challenge. Speaking of challenges, man, training camp starts tomorrow. The Canucks just released their, 125-man roster. No, I think it was something more like 55 players that are going to be in Penticton tomorrow. Training camp running Thursday through Sunday with a chunk of guys going down to Seattle for the first preseason game on Sunday, September 21st. I just want to touch quickly on some training camp battles that are on the top of my mind right now. And the first one for me is the top line left wing spot. Right now, Jake DeBrusk is the incumbent. We know Pettersson's our number one center, for better or for worse. Management pumping his tires today. Hopefully it's for the better. I knew it would improve Petey 2.0, the alien reemerging. But who is going to play on his left wing? His right wing for that matter. But for me, it really depends who plays on the left wing. Every day it's here on Locked On. No, I've been saying that best case scenario for the Vancouver Canucks is Nils Höglander pushing his way up the lineup to play alongside his brother, Elias Pettersson. But he's obviously the odd man, the guy on the outside looking in right now, right? It's probably DeBrusk, it's probably Kane, and then it's Höglander. That's your depth chart on the left side right now. But can Höglander be that guy that pushes his way into the top six, which would probably push Evander Kane down to a third line, which, look, when you hear things like Patrick Allvin saying he's a middle six guy, that's basically saying ideally he's on your third line. But if Kane's on the third line of the Vancouver Canucks, it likely means that Nils Höglander has to play in the top six. So Nils Höglander battling against DeBrusk and battling against Kane, probably Kane in particular, that's one of the matchups I have my eye on the most heading into Canucks training camp. The second will be the third line center spot. And we're all, maybe not all of us, but I think a good portion of Canucks fans are kind of penciling Ratu into that role, right? Can he actually do it? I mean, without a full offseason of training, Allvin today saying Ratu is healthy. No issues there, but he hasn't had the full offseason of training to get up to speed. And we heard the story with Elias Pettersson last season. Is that going to put Ratu behind the 8 ball in a situation which this is the offseason where you want to be prepared if you're Ratu? I mean, he makes a team out of camp last year, has a great camp, but now you're kind of penciling this guy in as your third line center. It's a big ask. So I think it's a big competition at camp to see Ratu versus Teddy Blueger. Who is truly going to be the Canucks third line center? I think right now on paper, it's Teddy Blueger, maybe on paper in that fourth line role, but taking on more minutes in the defensive zone, kind of freeing up Ratu for some more offensive minutes. As a guy who is a bit more of a lethal threat offensively, at least compared to Teddy Blueger. Not to say Ratu can't play defense. I think he's pretty damn good at that role. But again, can he handle the minutes of a third line center? He's never been a consistent NHLer, so I think it's a fair question for the Vancouver Canucks. And then I'm looking at really some of the depth spots on the roster, and I think there's 11 forward spots I think are more or less accounted for if you're penciling Ratu in the lineup, right? Let's talk about a first line. I mentioned it before. Höglander, Pettersson, Besser. Maybe that's the second line of DeBrusk, Hedl, and Garland. Your third line, let's get the big boys together. Kane, Ratu, Kiefer Sherwood, and a fourth line of Drew O'Connor, Teddy Blueger, and then who's that next guy? So that final spot in the Canucks opening night lineup, not just to make the team, but in the opening night lineup, I think that's firmly up for debate right now. I would say Linus Karlsson's the incumbent there, the best player for the Canucks in the AHL last year, at least among the forwards. Jonathan Lecker-Mack, you probably don't want him on your fourth line. I think he's got to really work his way up the lineup. I'd say he's on the outside looking in right now. Archie Baines, come on, man. I was raised in Surrey, British Columbia. I'm not counting on Archie Baines to make this team. Incredibly high hockey IQ. I think he's adaptable. He's just got to learn to take more chances. And then throwing Vitaly Kravtsov into the mix, a bit more of an outside shot of making this team on opening night. So, and maybe Max Hassan as well. So there's a good chunk of players who are fighting for a spot in the Canucks opening night lineup. And then let's go to the last battle, and I think it's really between the three young defensemen. Call it D. Petey, Tom Willander, and Victor Mancini. Which one of those guys is going to emerge at camp? And if the prospect showcase is any indication, it's going to be D. Petey. A man amongst boys out there. My God, man. Dude, you can trust a guy with a jawline like that. D. Petey's got the jawline, baby. Let's go. You could trust DPD, I think, among those three. But, Mancini was great in the playoffs last year, in the AHL playoffs, I should say. And then Tom Willander, a highly touted prospect. So you can't count him out either. All right, before we wrap up here, get to a couple comments. And I got to come clean here, okay? Before we get to the comments, I would like to call this segment Beggsy's Ballad. If you listen to Locked On earlier in the day, you might have heard about how at my first press conference of the 2025-26 season, my first press conference as a full-timer, didn't get a question in. And Kyle talked about it, the long walk on the seawall afterwards. It was actually more like stuffing my face with a burrito down at Chronic Taco there, one of my favorite spots, and just trying to forget about it, forget about the disappointment. And then as I've forgotten about it, got an article out for Daily Hive there. I turned on the car and all I hear is Kyle Bowen talk about, Beggsy didn't ask a question. Beggsy didn't ask a question. It's okay, Beggsy. And I cried, man. I cried.
It's okay, Beggsy. It's okay. I came here to save the day. I heard you crying all the way from here. White Rock to Marpole. I know you did your first press conference. You didn't get a question in. Maybe you felt intimidated, right? Thomas Drance, David Quadrelli, right? Intimidating guys. Yo, come on. I know.
Okay.
Chris Faber
Okay.
there.
Let's back it up right there. I can't keep up the stick anymore, man.
I know you're
David
scared.
Quadrelli
Trevor.
wasn't there first and foremost.
Why you
So yeah,
calling
what
him out?
Canucks who? What are they doing? Canucks who? What? No, I'm just kidding. We love Quads is a good guy. No, I was late, man. I was late for first day on the job. So I'm stuck at the back, and maybe I could have elbowed some guys through, but I just didn't want to be that guy on my first day. And I remember I'm going to training camp tomorrow, man. Come on. I wasn't too fussed about it, man. I know I'm going to be at training camp the next day, baby. Like, I've been in that locker room on and off since 2021, man. Don't worry about your boy Beggsy. I'll be back. I'll be better, and that's my ballad, because I got to be better for the people here on Locked On Canucks.
Hey, but at least you don't have to be better for your family, because the reason you were late is because you had to drop your daughter off to school. So, because if I were you, dude, I would have dropped off my daughter at 7 a.m. Made
Let
her
her
wait
play on the
outside.
playground unattended. Yeah, there you go.
Don't worry, baby. Nothing's gonna happen to you. Just stay there. Don't like, if it's strangers, like, I got some candy, don't listen to them. But man, just simple stuff. That's how we were raised. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I would have pulled that move and gotten to the rink early, front row seat. I would have brought my own microphone, to be honest, and a portable speaker just to ask the question.
No, I got Kyle Bowen on speaker here. Wants to ask a question.
Okay. All in all, pretend I'm Rutherford, pretend I'm Alvin, pretend I'm Adam Foote. Ask me a question.
I'm trying to think of what wasn't already asked today, but I think, he answered the main thing on my mind, which was, do you regret what you said about Quinn Hughes back in April? And he kind of doubled down on that and said, obviously it was news. He didn't really think it was news at all, right? So he doubled down on that take. But maybe one of the things we didn't learn today was, Jim Rutherford mentioned that he didn't go to Sweden to visit Elias Pettersson. But we don't know about Alvin and Foote. So that probably would have been one of my next follow-ups. Like, did you go over to Sweden and see Pettersson this offseason? What were those conversations like?
Why would they have to go to Sweden, though? Like,
well, Rutherford alluded to the fact that he's like, I didn't go to Sweden. It's like, okay, well, who did go to Sweden? No, I want to know that, man. Come on.
If they, they just, went for a walk with him?
They flew over for lunch and flew back, yeah. Maybe.
No, a better question would have been, did you go to his wedding?
Yeah, that's another question I have had on my mind, man. But you gotta be careful with that one, man. But no, like I said, we'll see the players tomorrow at training camp. Excited to see how everyone looks, and I'll get some questions in for Daily Hive and the people on Locked On Canucks there.
There you go, man. Yeah, I'm proud of you. You're living out your dreams, and don't beat yourself up too much, man. Like, I'm a little busy today, so if I ignore all 18 of your calls, just don't take it personally, okay? I'm not ignoring you like Craig McEwen did today, okay? So
I should tell Craig McEwen that my dad's name is Craig. Maybe that's my in there. But
you should tell Craig McEwen that, yo, my mom and dad were listening to that, man. They were listening on the radio, waiting for me to ask a question.
Yeah, I wonder if my parents do that. I mean, they've done that before, but yeah, I've been there a few times, so. You'll hear my voice again on those in those press conferences in due time, my man. But I gotta do better and show up on time. That's
no, you don't.
Tough commute, but or just elbow guys out of the way.
Just elbow guys, man. You got to show up late any single time, because you got to drop your daughter off to school. It's all, come on, man. It's not that big of a deal. We're just shooting the shit here.
Well, you know what they say, man. Nice guys finish last.
Yeah, so elbow people, go drop your daughter off to school. Show up 5 minutes late.
I've learned something today.
And just ask for the mic, because you're a star. It is what it is. And you ask better questions than everyone. I don't care. I don't know. Why are you laughing?
Well, because the one question I proposed to you, you're like, well, that's a stupid question.
Did he visit Pettersson and buy him lunch? I don't know. All in all, though, Trevor, you're going to be at training camp tomorrow. I'm just hoping that I get that text message from you. Holy crap, Elias Pettersson looks like he's the fastest skater on the ice. He's the hardest working guy here. Yeah, for no reason at all. He's doing 100 push-ups after every drill. I want to see one of those texts in the morning. And second of all, dude, I'm excited. You probably already touched on it. I know we have to get going. But I don't know. I got more confident after today's press conference. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, not a lot was said, and nothing special was said, and a bunch of cliche stuff." To me, I don't know, something, and I think a lot of it had to do with Adam Foote. Something just tells me that this season's going to be a lot different, and that Adam Foote's a better leader than Quit Talkett.
Oh, 100% he is, man. And with that, let's wrap up with the comment. Mel Vaughn, a.k.a. Sideshow Bob, in the comments saying, Foote doesn't convince me, but I hope I'm wrong. Going on to say Manny is locked and loaded. Look, we've had the love for Manny Malhotra here on Locked On Canucks. I actually professed my love to Manny Malhotra on the Locked On NHL show a couple weeks back when I was rocking the stash. But I'm warming up to Adam Foote. You know what? Kyle, dare I say I call this a little bit of a foot fetish?
No, you can call it that. I got a foot fetish after today, and I'm just a Canucks fan, man. I'm trying to be more of a Canucks fan, okay? And today was the start of the new season. Got to hear the bosses speak, and I've digested it. I've consumed it. Again, now I'm looking at feet. No, I'm Adam Foote. I'm just appreciating Adam Foote more, and I get why there could be skepticism because he's a first-time head coach, and he said that whole thing about, we're going to adapt to teams and blah, 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 and it's kind of confusing and whatnot, but at least he has a plan, okay? At least he has a plan. And I don't know, man. Just go Canucks, go Trevor. That's all I could say, dude. Please just text me tomorrow saying Pettersson has an 8-pack and he's just he's outpacing, he's as fast as Quinn Hughes, okay? That's what I want to hear tomorrow. He's a better skater than Quinn Hughes. Please text me that tomorrow, okay?
I'll do my best, man. We know Adam Foote has a plan, and we know we have a plan here too on Locked On Canucks, man. The 12-year grind to get the opportunity to go watch Canucks at training camp, man. I can't wait for tomorrow. My plan is get up while it's still dark, get my ass down to the rink in Penticton, and watch Elias Pettersson work his magic out there, man. We'll come back to you tomorrow here on Locked On Canucks with updates from training camp. So if you want to, subscribe to that, subscribe to the channel, man. And a 5-star review on the podcast, that it helps us. It helps the show go a long ways, man. We're looking to get it go from a 4.2 to at least a 4.3, man. Let's go. My name's Trevor Beggs. That beauty's Kyle Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.